Okay, we have a quick discussion on Chapter 7, which is chemical dependency and how that disrupts the organization of the family. Most of these viewpoints are from Dr. Steinglass from 1987, and Chapter 7 begins on page 68, where it describes the presence of a chemical dependency in the family unit. And the previous lecture on Chapter 6, we looked at the early, middle, and late stages of the family. We also looked at arrested development. So what we're going to look at here is that the family may or may not become organized around the dependents. If you think of the family that has an alcoholic member, they may um, uh, build rituals around the alcoholic's family member's behavior. If it's in the family's organizational structure, the dependence can be maintained by the family's behavior. And this is what we call either codependency or also can be known as um, enabling behavior. An example would be problems may not be discussed unless fighting about chemical problems. Any other issues or problems in the family may be swept under a rug, or the family rules may be don't talk, don't feel, don't listen, and these are the family's rules. And the rules are in place in order to help maintain the chemically dependent. These internal regulation are the regulatory mechanisms that are in place to help the family maintain stability, order, and control systems of functioning. One example of this may be where the father goes out after Friday night of work and is drinking, and the mother around midnight, 1 a.m., takes the children in a vehicle and drives down to the watering hole to make sure the dad doesn't drive home drunk. Therefore, the system is in place, and this can become a weekly routine or ritual that takes place. These mechanisms take over the normal operating procedure of the family, and as a result, the family systems are taken over by the chemical dependency and related behavior. Those behaviors include calling into work for the alcoholic if they're sick on Monday morning, having to hide money for financial issues. There's a lot of different examples of this. And that's one of the examples given in the book. Of course, poor financial management might never be discussed until brought up in a heated dispute related to alcohol or drug behavior, where one person may have financial needs, and then it could come up in an argument, well, where's all the money going? All the money's going to your drinking or whatever. The disruption, the way that chemical dependency mainly disrupts the family is the daily routines, family rituals, and also short-term problem solving. The patterns of a family's daily routines can reflect underlying principles related to chemical dependency. Looking at how and what extent the family patterns have changed over time to be compatible with chemical dependency can show how daily functioning has been affected. In other words, there include such activities like meal times, bedtimes, chore scheduling. The daily routines are in place and may begin to be construed over time to adapt to the intoxicated person. One example complaint is in the book listed on page 68, where a woman complained that she wasn't getting enough sleep because she had to sit up and wait for her intoxicated husband to wake up because he had fallen asleep in the chair. When asked why, she replied, well, his head drops over and he might break his neck. Her daily routine was affected by his behavior. This daily routines that can be affected can be as simple as, what time we eat dinner. We eat dinner at 10 o'clock instead of 8 o'clock because dad is out drinking. We may not get together and eat dinner at the family table because of dad's erratic behavior. And that's where we go back to the fact that the daily routines and family rituals can include Christmas Eve, Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. As a result of the addicted behavior, Those type of family rituals, people may feel like that they're walking on eggshells. They may have to open gifts late. They may um, choose not to go over to another family member's house because of the erratic behavior of the addicted. So that may limit the family on which and what type of family rituals are they're involved in. As a result of that, the family often must work hard at preserving rituals to keep them from being disrupted or taken over by the issues related to chemical dependency. We also look at family birthdays, barbecues, other incidents. There may be a point in time where the family member is not invited to those type of events because of their erratic behavior, and this can add to the family member's feeling of isolation, and can add to feelings of guilt, remorse, shame associated with their alcohol or drug use, which will keep them then from interacting with the family members. Finally, we look at short-term problem solving. This is where there's a cohesion in crisis. The togetherness of the family begins to break apart. Of course, all families will face day-to-day challenges and crisis. However, in a chemically dependent family, problems are more likely to create tension and anxiety rather than evoke an attempt to effective resolution. Problems are discussed during times of dependence, and family problems will be hidden. There may be an avoidance for discussing those problems. In the chemically dependent family, blaming others for problems tends to become the normal way to avoid resolution. Also, it's noting as well the early, middle, and late phase of the family development, and we've already discussed that in Chapter 6. And so it will talk in Chapter 7 about how those stages that we talked about in Chapter 6 are affected by chemical dependency, the impact that the chemical dependency will have on each stage in the family. Also, do all families react the same way? Some families may isolate the person and keep it a secret. It'll be the family's secret. Nobody, and especially we see this with mental illness, oftentimes also with substance abuse. They may, there's a video we show called Reflections of the Child, where children may want to have company over to the house, and they may not be able to do so because of the erratic behavior in the home life. So therefore, the children may be avoiding others finding out, friends or peers finding out about an addict or alcoholic family member, oftentimes a mother or father. One thing we can ask ourselves, if it goes ignored or unnoticed, then why? And then many people will say that they see it as inevitable, that sometime, someplace, somewhere, someone is going in the family is going to have to confront the addict. And that's why we do in this class look also at Intervention, the TV series, and one of the things that you can see from an intervention is oftentimes family members will be totally clueless of how things got so out of control for the family member. And oftentimes these reasons here, an inability to confront and actively challenge the chemical dependency or the addicted person's behavior, is what allowed their addiction to get so out of control. That concludes our lecture for Chapter 7. I'll see you in the next lecture for Chapter 8.